Well, we had to wait until the end, but we finally got it. The most interesting moment of August happened on Wednesday.
You are Locked On Nebraska, your daily Nebraska Cornhuskers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, and thanks for making Locked On Nebraska your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase.
Okay, welcome in. It is Wednesday. You found the Locked On Nebraska podcast. I'm Mitch Sherman from The Athletic. Connor Happer, 1620 The Zone, is right there. Cheers to you. R.I.P. Dolly Parton.
Oh,
shout out to Dolly. What a moment. What an American icon. What a tough deal on Tuesday. Unexpected.
It's kind of it was like, whoa, wow, that one kind of came out of nowhere a little bit. So yeah, very sad news on Wednesday or Tuesday.
All right. Okay, mention that. We are now going to take one last trip through the running back group here today on Wednesday during the last off week for Nebraska football until late October. That is right. When Sunday gets here, it will be game week every week until October 18th as Nebraska comes home from Oregon after 6 games in 6 weeks. Tuesday in Lincoln, as I said, we heard from some of the running backs and the running backs coach, and we're going to spend some time on all of that today on the show. We're going to hear from Mekhi Nelson and his first comments in front of the media this month. We're going to hear from Jamal Rule, the freshman who has taken up a new hobby around Lincoln. But we're going to start with E.J. Barthel, Nebraska's fourth-year running backs coach. And he said at the outset of his 10 minutes or so at the podium that he believes Nebraska has, quote, multiple starters at running back. Different skill sets, Barthel says, but he feels comfortable with 2. And he didn't say this, but if you're talking multiple, maybe 3 players getting game reps with the top group. Or maybe he means 4. I don't know. What did you make of EJ and his confidence with the running backs?
Well, he's been pretty consistent on that since the spring. I mean, he echoed pretty much the similar thoughts as he did when he talked in the spring, which is, I think this is a really good group. And that is knowing at the same time what Emmett Johnson gave you last year. He says it's among the most talented groups that he's been around, or the most talented group of guys that he's had in his room, which is saying something considering he's got a running back and, who's going to make the Chiefs roster this year. And so it's hard to really parse through, exactly where the confidence comes from. Is it the fact that they feel like they have 3 that can actually play, where last year it was like, okay, we have Emmett Johnson, and then you kind of just throw everybody off to the side? Is it because he's excited to see what these younger guys can do? Or is it, is it possible that they have a bunch of guys who are going to be all that good all at the same time? I guess I sort of doubt that, but right. We'll see what it looks like when they hit the field. He certainly has not been afraid to double and triple down on the confidence in that group.
One thing you can definitely say and feel that they truly believe it is, and this name did not come up on Tuesday, but the removal of Tyke Hayes from this group after just a couple of weeks as a part of the Nebraska team has done nothing to dampen the enthusiasm that Barthel and others have about the Nebraska running backs. So
yeah, and nor should it, because he wasn't here in the spring either, and they were just
he wasn't here necessarily to take on a big role at the start of the season. I think seeing what we see now and hearing the words of Barthel, it's pretty clear that the situation with Hayes, this is probably the last time we'll talk about him, was a reaction to the uncertainty that surrounded Mekhi Nelson in the month of July. And Nebraska felt like it needed a backup plan if Nelson was unable to come back. And obviously he was able to come back and is here and is one of those running backs that I think Nebraska feels most confident about. It's a question. Mekhi Nelson's in the group. Isaiah Mozee is definitely in the group. And I think Jamal Rule is in the group, or they're not going to put him on the stage that they did on Tuesday and talk about him as a freshman in the way that they consistently have. So it's 3 players, and I'm going to be real interested to see how they use them. And if it's a situational kind of rotation, if they try to give each one of those 3 backs, this is my guess, they're going to try to give each one of those 3 backs a series, at least one series, and somebody's going to get more than a series in the first half next Saturday against Ohio.
Yeah, I mean, I would think that they just split they split really the first 3 games. I don't know how they split it, but I would imagine in the first 3 games that each of those top 3 guys, their carries will look pretty similar. That'd be my guess at this point. I think they'll have a chance to go beyond that because the game situation should dictate that they will have a chance to go beyond that, meaning that they'll be up by a bunch and you'll have some non-competitive snaps that go in there too. But as far as those 3, I mean, I would look at it as really an audition of a non-conference play of September.
I could see any of the 3 being the starter. I think it's more important who's the starter on September 26th than it is who's the starter on September 5th.
Definitely.
And I could see any of the 3 coming out of the non-conference with the top job. I do expect that they will, and I don't feel all that confident about this, but I do expect that they will
pick someone,
go with experience as far as the order that they play them to start here. And Rule, unless he gets on the field in, say, the 3rd or 4th series next Saturday and runs it 3 times for 74 yards, I would expect that they're going to give Nelson and then Mozee the most carries. And I'm not sure about the order of those 2. They've both been in the program for similar amounts of time. Mekhi 1 year longer, but as far as how much they've played, it's not all that much different. And yeah, I think you'll kind of see those 2, 1 and 1A, and then Rule as the 2 heading into week 2.
Well, it's funny because all that will happen in the first 3 weeks of the season, and maybe people will pick their favorites, and it'll be a talking point within the fan base and things like that. What I expect to happen after that is really the carry share to continue throughout the year. I just think that Nebraska is going to have 3 running backs this year, possibly 2 when they whittle it down a little bit. But I think that's what we're going to have. I don't think they're going to have. I mean, Emmett Johnson had a absolute boatload of carries last year. They just, that's not going to happen.
Yeah. EJ wants to see some urgency. Well, he has been seeing urgency from his backs, and he noted that just one running back can be on the field at any given time in practice when they're doing teamwork, and they have to make the most of those moments. And then he went on to say that this is the most talented group of running backs that he's had in one room during his time at Nebraska. So that's kind of a lot. That's a bold statement when you consider that Emmett Johnson, who rushed for 1,400 yards, was removed from that group just last season, and that Mozee and Nelson were a part of it a year ago. So, and you're not just taking into account the top 3. They're going to get the most mention. I think they're the ones who are going to get the ball in the first half of the first game and generally be in the mix to be. If someone emerges from that group, it's going to be one of those 3. But Vincent Genatone got a lot of mention as somebody who's been a leader and a standout in camp. Quentin Ives was mentioned, 215-pound back who really can do everything that Nebraska asks right now. Probably not as strong as a receiver out of the backfield, but at some of the other stuff, he's right near the top. And then Connor Booth was also mentioned as a guy who's doing his part to be able to earn reps in practice. So it's probably the top 3, but when Barthel, who are giving him confidence, but when he talks about this being the most talented group that he's got, I think he's going 6 deep in that assessment.
Well, what do you mean? I don't know that he's Like I think when he's talking about the most talented group, I think he's talking about the three. I mean, I think those.
I think he's talking about the whole room, and that Booth is a year older and he's improved, and Ives is a year older, and they've been encouraged by the progress that Vince Genatone has shown. I mean, his confidence about the running backs and what they're going to do next week is about the top three. When he talks about the whole group and it being the most talented, I think he's talking about the whole room.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, sure, but you're not putting Vince Genatone.
You're not going to put Connor Booth in the game in the first half. No.
Yeah,
no, not right now.
At the end of the game, I think those guys are fighting for carries at the end of games, and there's probably a bunch of them to go around in the month of September.
Why this is important is because if they only had three, and it was those top three, and let's say somebody was not coming along, Jamarian Parker a year ago just was not coming along, and then you had an injury or two, then I don't think he would say what he said about it being the most talented room that he's ever had at Nebraska, because the depth just wouldn't be there. He likes the depth and he likes the top end talent.
Sure. For
what it's worth. He also talked a lot about Emmett Johnson on Tuesday and said that he has shown cut-ups of Emmett's exhibition carries and reps with the Chiefs to all of his running backs in their meeting room, and that the guys are getting good vibes from seeing Emmett do what he's doing. All except Jamal Rule were teammates with Emmett Johnson last year, and that they take some confidence from knowing Barthel will stop the tape as Emmett is in the middle of performing some operation with the Chiefs offense and say, what's he doing? What's the principle that's being applied here? And they have the answers. So EJ's response to that is, you guys know what he's doing. You guys are ready to go do the kinds of things that he's doing in the NFL right here in this level of play at Nebraska. It's a good coaching strategy. And it was interesting to see Mekhi Nelson, and Rule was asked about this too, but he spent very little time, if any, around Emmett. But it was interesting to see Mekhi Nelson and the pride that he had in talking about Emmett and what he's getting done early in his time with the Chiefs.
Yeah, the first step, I think, for these young guys is to be able to knock that piece of it out. Where am I going? What am I doing? Am I capable of accomplishing all the things that running backs are supposed to be doing in the offense and the principles that you're supposed to be running? Check, check, check. That all sounds like it's working out. The thing that has gotten Emmett Johnson to the league is the fact that he could do all those things, and he makes people miss at an extremely high rate.
Exactly.
And he turns 3-yard carries into 5-yard carries and things like that. Like, do any of these guys have that? We'll see. There's really no way to know right now.
Okay, we take a break, and then we will come back with Mekhi Nelson and his first trip to the media room since last spring. That's next. Right now, we got a message from Game Time. There are more live events right now worth seeing than ever. You got games, there are concerts, there are comedy shows, festivals here at the end of the summer as we get closer to September. And the hard part usually is not deciding what you want to attend. It's how do you get tickets? Between those long wait times, confusing checkout processes, and surprise fees, buying tickets sometimes does and can feel harder than it should. That's why so many fans, myself included, are turning to Game Time. It's the app built to make buying tickets simple with upfront pricing, seat views before you buy, and exclusive saving opportunities that help you get to the events that you want without a lot of hassle. If you're thinking about watching something at home or maybe getting tickets and you've been deterred by one of those things that we talked about, just remember that there's something different about being there live. You get the crowd reaction. There's all kinds of energy in the stadium or the arena. It's a moment that everyone experiences together. One of those things that does not translate through a screen. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets to every type of event with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today.
All All right, welcome back. More of the Locked On Nebraska podcast, talking running backs here on this Wednesday. That was certainly the topic on Tuesday, post-practice for Nebraska. Let's go to the top of the assumed depth chart at this point. Mekhi Nelson, he had a eventful summer for the wrong reasons, and he took to the podium on Tuesday to, briefly acknowledge that and say what he's sort of learned over this long and arduous time period here.
I just wanted to start off by saying, just blessed to be back in front of y'all. But as everyone knows, I was involved in an incident this summer. But I just wanted to say, I've reflected on the impact that my actions have on the people around me and myself, But I just wanted to say that I'm grateful to be back. And I just appreciate the support that I've had throughout this process, from Coach EJ, Coach Benning, Coach Rule, the rest of the staff, like Dr. Elza and stuff. And, I'm committed to growing from this, and yeah.
Okay, so if you're just tuning back in, I imagine everybody knows about this, but he was involved. The incident that he refers to, he was arrested and charged with aggravated battery in July in Key West, Florida. Charges that were later dropped. He was exonerated. He faced no punishment from the Nebraska Athletic Department or the football team, but it was a difficult situation. Clearly, you can hear it in his voice for him, and he's open about that. And credit to him for doing what he did on Tuesday, what Mekhi Nelson did, because he could have put out a statement on Instagram or Twitter and called it good. He could have come in and read off of a piece of paper and had his eyes glued to the podium and called it good. And that would, I think, be what is about the most that you would expect most of the time to happen in that situation. But he did not do that. He was speaking freely from the heart, you could say. And now this is another step for him. I think he got that hurdle cleared on Tuesday. Last week, we heard from him in a taped interview with Coach Benning, Damon Benning, that he referenced with the Nebraska football program as a director of player development. And considering that there are no legal ramifications here, this is all tied up. This is probably it. He's been through Fan Day. He's been through these statements that he's made. He's going to play in a game next week in front of a full stadium. These are all important moments to get back to a place where the conversation is just about Mekhi Nelson, Nebraska's running back, one of Nebraska's running backs. And I think the team, the program, and Mekhi, since that day in July, have handled this well and have gotten to a place now where this is not going to be something that's a distraction to enter the season.
Yeah, credit him. I mean, he's got to want to do that, right? Like, yeah, he right. Very easily could have just.
You can't just tell him to and have him pull it off that way.
Exactly. He very easily could have just not answered questions for the next couple of weeks, and nobody would have thought anything about it, Mm-hmm. But at some point, he was going to have to. So it's good to air it out and say, hey, I'm learning from this. We heard him, like you said, talk with Damon in that interview where they were walking on the practice field. By the way, all the interviews are walking these days. We should put a pin in that
requirement.
I don't know why every interview has to be walking, but there is.
Did Jay Billis start that?
I don't know where. I don't know why every interview. I get some interviews could be walking, but not.
He's been doing that for a few years with like the 94 feet thing, where he would walk with a player.
Yeah.
He's been. I think he started it. They never did that before. I never remember, it's if you go to college football and
oh, no. Yeah, I said him, like he's been doing that for a long time. I don't know why every interview at Nebraska has to be like that now. I don't know if they're doing a Jay Billis, but anyway,
I think so.
That's beside the point. Good for him for getting out there. Certainly, Nebraska, I think has done a really good job in supporting him as well as very clearly, an emotional deal for him.
Yeah. Not easy to do that. Not easy for a 40-year-old to go and do that. A coach, but let alone someone who's 21.
and say, hey, look, you know, this, and it didn't seem like a situation to me where he was told like, hey, doesn't this give you some perspective? And he's like, yeah, this gives me some perspective. But like, he really, it feels like he really truly meant, this gives me some perspective. I have all these people who support me and these people who I can't let down, and all these people who are here for me. And so I think that is something that he's very seriously gained in the last 3 months.
It would be very easy too to think to just say there was nothing that came out of it. Like, yeah, there was a day where it looked pretty dark, but the end result was that nothing happened, and we're not going to address it. But that would be, I think, disingenuous, because it was a big roadblock in his summer. It was a tough thing to go through. So it's good that he acknowledged it, and I think it's to the betterment of the team. Like, that there's transparency, and there's openness, and a willingness to stand up there and do hard things. And that's what we saw Mekhi Nelson do on Tuesday.
Totally. Yeah. So all engines go for Mekhi Nelson, who I think, to bring this all together in the first two segments here, definitely feels like he's going to be the guy to get the first crack next Saturday.
I think, but I talked a couple minutes ago about how I expect it to go like in order of seniority, and he's the oldest of the three at the top. If Jamal Rule lines up as the back with Anthony Calandria on the first series next Saturday, I wouldn't be there. I wouldn't be like, oh my gosh.
No.
If it was Isaiah Mozee, I don't think I would be really surprised at all. This is as close to the vest, and just as close period as I can ever remember them having a running back conversation to enter a season. Maybe with two, you've seen it, but not with three like this. And it remains to be seen whether that is a positive. So it's in theory it can be, because you're comfortable with everyone, but it also potentially means, we don't know this for sure, but it potentially means that no one has jumped up and played at a level way above the others here in August.
I would just think that if they're doing it normal, I mean, they're scripting out everything in that first drive anyway. So it's like, okay, let's go with one of our sets that we rep. And I would imagine that Mekhi Nelson's been getting, he's first in line in the drills and stuff like that. So if it plays true to that, great. If it doesn't, then there'll be somebody else. But I do think he probably, gets that quote unquote first crack, whether or not it's actually the first carry or rep.
Yeah. Also, what we said, or I said, I'm more interested in who's the starting back on September 26th when they go to Michigan State than I am who's the starting back when they come out for the first offensive series of the year. I'm also interested in who's the back that's playing in the fourth quarter when the game is within 10 or 14 points.
Yeah, totally. They could all be different answers. So we'll get you introduced to another one of those players in that category and right up there with the top guys, and his newfound hobby right after this.
All right, we saved the best for last on this Wednesday episode of the Locked On Nebraska podcast. Let's just go ahead and hit play on the first clip from Jamal Rule. You can hear the question right here at the start from Tim Verghese of Inside Nebraska.
Have you found where did that start? And have you found a favorite lane here?
It started going into our May break. I was bored sitting at my dorm, and I was like, you know what, let me just go bowling. And then I started going bowling. I started going a couple times a day, and then ended up buying my new bowling ball. After that, the rest is history. Went back home, bought another bowling ball, so now I have two. And then, I just, kind of fell in love with this. Kind of like peaceful. Some people have golf and stuff, and my piece is bowling. Seeing the ball roll down, and I developed a little curve too. So seeing it go almost in the gutter and come back and strike, it's pretty cool.
got a hook.
That's impressive. That's quite the quite the progression in only several months here. I still throw it straight down the lane.
Yeah.
I certainly I don't think that I've ever hit a 265 is what he said. That
245. 245.
I thought he said 265. I was like, oh my God, 245 is still really, really good. I don't think I've got there either, but
no,
a couple times a day will get you there. A couple times, like if you decide that you want to be really good at bowling, you got a chance. And credit Jamal Rule for, he was like, yeah, I mean, if I was a freshman, I was sitting in my dorm room like, I'm really bored right now. What am I gonna do? I think I'll just go take a walk around campus or something. Like maybe I'll go pick up basketball or something. There's pickleball courts everywhere as far as the eye can see these days. He's like, no, I'm taking myself to Sun Valley Lanes. We're gonna go bowling. I'm gonna get a big pretzel and I'm gonna throw that ball down the lane. It's gonna be awesome.
Do you think he eats bowling alley food?
I would hope so. It's delicious. Sun Valley Lanes is, I say this as a person who has been in a league for many years, who was in a league for many years at Sun Valley Lanes. Sun Valley Lanes is like one of the best restaurants in Lincoln. I'm dead serious. It's incredible.
I've been there, but I don't know that I share that because I don't know that I've eaten there. I can't remember having ever eaten there.
Yeah. You gotta get to it's whatever you want. I mean,
when you say one of the best restaurants in Lincoln, I mean, you're just talking about good bowling alley, greasy bowling alley food, French fries and pretzels and hamburgers and hot dogs.
Yeah, and it's incredibly delicious. Yeah.
Okay. Well, he was not done talking about bowling, so we got more. Here it comes.
All the things that you could have chosen as a hobby, why?
I don't know. I mean, like, I didn't expect to really fall in love with bowling the way I did, but, I just went and it was just, like, really fun. And now, to answer your question, there's a bowling alley by my house called Sun Valley Lanes. Very, very cool people. I just go there. They know me. I don't even got to say my name no more. I just walk in. I'm like, can I get a lane, So,
Play league or anything?
No, not yet. I was thinking about it, but I don't know. Just like with the football schedule, I don't think I'll have time. If I wanted to do that, I'd probably do it like next year during summer, something like that, when I have like a little bit extra more time. But just whenever I'm like feeling stressed, I'll go bowling. If I'm having a good day, I'll go bowling. If I'm having a bad day, I'll go bowling. I kind of make excuses with myself just to go bowling. I mean, I don't know why I fell in love with it the way I did, but I did. So,
Got your own shoes yet?
Huh?
Got your own shoes
No,
yet?
I'm working on that. I have everything else. I have like my little wipe. It's called a chamois, to take the oil off. I have my own bowling balls. Yeah. Bring my headphones, just like, get my mind right. Yeah, but I'm working on getting the shoes. The shoes are incoming.
Tremendous.
Shoes are incoming. He's working on an NIL deal there. Like, even if he's not, it's going to come to him.
Oh, well, yeah. Now it was amazing. Like, so I wasn't in the room. So I get this, I get the whole, he's up there for 9 minutes and I download the video. I'm like, oh, let's listen to what Jamal Rule had to say today. And you could feel, I'm watching it on video, and you could feel the energy shift in the room when Tim asked the question about bowling, because it felt like everyone just kind of sat up in their chairs and was like, all right, here we go. We finally got something.
We got something interesting. It's like a bite. There's a bite on the line. You got a big fish to reel in here.
Yeah. It was a third of the press conference was talking about bowling. It was more than 3 minutes of Jamal Rule talking about bowling and 9 minutes of a press conference, which please, more of this. I mean, especially on August 25th, more of this.
You said at the start of the show here, this was the highlight of August. We finally got something good here in the month of August in a press conference. And I made the remark earlier in the afternoon on Tuesday that this was the Archie Wilson moment of this year. And thankfully, thank you, Tim, we didn't have tears from the freshmen this year. Instead, we got all smiles and lots of bowling talk. So
good.
Like this is the kind of guy that you want. I'm going to take it and now spin this forward to football.
Give me this take.
This is the kind of guy you want playing running back on your team. Like he doesn't take himself too seriously. He knows how to handle his free time. I see some maturity with him. I think he's going to handle big moments with poise if he gets in that spot. Clearly, you can see he's a likable guy. Great smile. Great personality, teammates like him. Like this is the guy on the offensive side of the ball who is the right one to be in position to play as a freshman. And he's the one that's going to get that shot. And then I think it's Danny Odom on the defensive side as a corner. But I don't know if Danny Odom has picked up a habit. Like maybe he likes to fish. Who knows? We need to find out.
I will say he most certainly seems more comfortable than I would expect a freshman to be.
No kidding.
He's like, you know what? I'm taking myself over to the bowling alley. I don't really care what anybody says. I don't care what anybody thinks. Yeah. I'm going to the bowling alley and I'm going to tell everybody about it. Well, I mean, he got asked about it, but he's like, yeah, I go every day. They know me by name. I just walk in. They're like, hey, Jamal, what's up? You want lane 14 again? He's like, yeah, of course I do. How about?
And he got 2 balls. Like he didn't just get one. Like it wasn't enough. Like he had to go get another one. That's a true bowler right there.
He's got the different weights, like a 13 pounder. What do you say? A 13 pounder and a 15 pounder or something like that.
I bet he can really throw that. That 13 pounder is pretty light. That's pretty light for a big, strong running back.
Now all he's missing to be a official bowler is to quote bowling movies nonstop. I think he should come to every press conference he does for the rest of his career. Either quoting Kingpin or The Big Lebowski or whatever other bowling movie you guys could think of. He should just do only those quotes.
He should wear his bowling shirt.
With
says Jamal on the shirt.
Market 0.
It's great. Great.
Somebody jumps in. They ask a question too early. Market 0.
Sun Valley Lanes. You need to get this man an endorsement deal now.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like they already kind of got him, He walks in there. He's like, yeah, I'll you know where I'm going. Lane 4.
Give me a lane with some good oil. Like, have you guys? He's got his chamois. He can clean off his bowling ball and
he
make
was
sure
asked
right.
At one point during the 3+ minutes. He was asked if anybody goes with him, and didn't he say no? He was just like
he said sometimes. Mekhi Nelson was asked about that because he talked after Rule and he said that he's gone with him and that he thinks he can beat him, although he didn't really seem to have a whole lot of evidence for why he thinks he could beat him, but he did.
It's good. Now we're talking. This is some competitive juice in the running back room, not just on the practice field, but on the lanes as well.
It's a safe sport. You're not likely to get hurt. I know there are bowling injuries. You can have an elbow situation or a shoulder or something like that, but he's young and that probably won't happen. It's just a good hobby. You're indoors, not going to run in any bad weather. Bowling alleys are no longer like choked with smoke. That would be a concern that you might have had a few years ago. If your standout young running back was hanging out in bowling alleys all of his free time, that he's going to he might end up getting sick from the smoke. But nope, they're smoke free now. So now I guess you just have to worry about the deep fat fried food.
It has taken away a little aura from the bowling alleys that you can't just rip cigarettes in there anymore.
No doubt.
But it's all for the health of the American public and for Jamal Rule, which is great.
What if he plays pool on the side? They have pool tables in there? They definitely do.
Oh yeah. I think they got a redo a few years ago. So
I'm gonna need to stop in there. I'm gonna need to stop in there and have lunch first of all, based on your.
You need to talk to the guy at the desk and do a story and say, hey, this guy Jamal who comes
let's see what happens. Let's see what happens with Jamal. If he's got 400 yards before the Indiana game, then absolutely we're doing that.
Okay. All right. I'll hold you to that. That's for sure.
All right. Last thing, should we just touch on this for 1 minute? The Big Ten made it an official decision on Tuesday not to allow players on its football teams who have signed an NFL contract declared early for the draft without withdrawing or spent any time on an NFL roster.
Would you look at that?
Seems kind of logical.
You do one rant on the Locked On Nebraska podcast, and all of a sudden the Big Ten, like hours later, is like, you know what? I think that's a great idea, Connor. By the way, the SEC has followed suit on Tuesday night. They have also decided that an SEC institution is not permitted to have an athlete on its roster who was either previously declared for the NFL, NBA, WNBA draft and did not appropriately withdraw, signed a contract to one of those leagues, been listed on an NFL, G League, or WNBA roster. The commissioner is authorized to enforce this expectation with penalties against member institutions. So the one they mentioned at the end of yesterday's pod, RJ Lewis, who was fixing to go back to LSU and play some basketball, he is now done. Cannot play anymore.
I wonder if the legal challenges are going to come. And if they do, that doesn't preclude the SEC from enforcing its punishments. So I guess we'll see if Greg Sankey's got some teeth behind that, and if LSU or anyone else dares to try to test that. I know the punishments in the Big Ten were very severe.
Yeah.
It was
like half
the season for the head coach. Yeah, like that's not happening. Nobody's going to take that risk. So sorry, I know Lane Kiffin was playing defense on this pretty good on Tuesday, making the rounds. I think he had a press conference and may have talked to Paul Feinbaum about this, but this does not look like it's going to end well for the programs, football and basketball, who are trying to take the leftover scraps from the NBA and the NFL.
Yeah, just drop it and everything will be fine. And then we'll all move on with our lives. That's what they should do.
You don't need a tight end that bad. LSU's got a tight end. Like, they don't need Daquan Wright that bad.
If you need a tight end on August 26th, then you need help.
Maybe they do. Maybe they do.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. That is a good development in my mind for college sports. Possibly a good development for you all is that this podcast has now ended. You may
get your mailbag questions in. We got one of those coming on Friday.
Absolutely. Thanks for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. For those of you on video, we'll send you to the first ever 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. On audio, make your second listen Locked On College Football. Thanks. Talk to you tomorrow.